The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
All right, what is up, fight fans? We are back for episode 31 here on the Belly Up Sports Network for Combat Deviants. I'm your host, as always, Stephen Rochelle, and joining me this evening, this afternoon, depending where you're listening from, what time zone you're in, where you're at, all that fun stuff. We are being joined by Dillion Winemiller, who's going to be fighting for BKFC here less than a month. I take it now, a little bit over.
No, it'll be next weekend.
Next weekend. He's fucking knocking them cards out like fucking knows nobody's business anymore. How excited are you for not only for your debut, but just seeing the direction BKFC has gone over the last 5 years, man? I mean, you know, here we are. We're on the cusp of I think it's 38s tonight, right?
Yeah.
You know. It's been an interesting 5 years. We've seen, you know, champions being made, stars being born. We're seeing, I guess this new wave. We're seeing them bring in a lot of these, you know, former MMA guys coming into the mix. I guess you're one of the younger guys that are making this jump from MMA to BKFC. Is it something that you've always known you were gonna kind of make the move to bare knuckle once it started, or is it just a natural progression where opportunities have aligned?
It's to be honest with you, I boxed and fought in MMA at the same time, and last year I got leg kicked and broke my left leg and had some nerve damage, and I can't get kicked in my leg anymore. So that kind of pushed me towards boxing, and then boxing pushed me towards bare knuckle. As soon as I saw it, I wanted to do it. I've been in a lot more fights without gloves in my life than I have with gloves. So the idea doesn't really intimidate me much. So I like it. It's my kind of sport.
I say it a lot of times, man. You know, we've seen guys come and go in this sport. You know, Greg Hardy kind of basically announced that someone was calling him out. He's like, you know, I came from this. I think I'm more of a sweet science guy now. You know, he gets right out of the UFC. You know, we have we have Mr. Watson run him out after out of BKFC in one fight. Is it really like it is that deep? It takes a special type of human being, man or woman, to be a bare knuckle boxer fighter, regardless if we're talking BKFC, BYB, BKB. Valor's about to be starting to make some noise in a few months. Bare knuckle has officially landed on the combat sports scene, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm excited to be part of it because I mean I'm not at the ground level, but like pretty early on in it, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
I mean, I've been really excited. I remember, I mean, I say this a lot just because, you know, I was, when I first started getting into media, Dave Feldman was running a promotion here in Philadelphia called XFE, and I remember him talking about this. He's like, when this thing eventually goes through where it's going to go, he's like, I think I'm gonna start to try to make bare knuckle a thing. I thought he was nuts at the time. I was like, what? Like, people barely accept MMA right now. How are we gonna do this? But you know, when you're not always inside of the, you know, that circle, you don't always see somebody's vision. You know, being where it was to seeing what bare knuckle is as a whole now, are you surprised to see how much it's taken off in the last 5 years or so?
No, see, I don't know. With MMA, it's like I remember whenever nobody accepted MMA either, you know. But you look at MMA and it's like it's kind of more brutal. I mean, there's elbows and knees, and you can just get held down and beat on. You know, I mean, there's joint locks that could ruin a career. I don't see how
I will
BK.
never forget Frank Mir destroying Minotauro
Oh,
Nogueira's arm. That submission is etched into my memory to no end. We'll never
and
forget that submission.
that, or he hit that arm bar, and Tim Sylvia and broke his forearm in half too. I mean, he's destroyed.
But that was a weird one because Frank had it locked in, and Tim just didn't. He was trying to slam him out of it. Next thing you know, it was just his arm was bent in half like a rubber chicken.
Nasty. Yeah, I remember that too. But you don't have that in BKFC. There's a lot more cuts.
Yeah, I
But you
think
really,
that's where like you guys who were susceptible to get cutting easy, like those are things that you guys have to worry more about. Like you were sitting there saying, guys who may not be the greatest Muay Thai guys in the world who wind up, like you even look at some of the brawlers in MMA. Was Rampage Jackson the guy that was going to check kicks and throw kicks? No. Actually, that was probably his biggest hole in his game, was not doing those things like that, and that's how people wound up beating him as he gotten more into his UFC career. I was sitting there saying this to a lot of guys. If you could have picked any guy from any area in combat sports and throw them in bare knuckle, who you think would do amazing now from throughout, who are your top five?
I haven't put that much thought into it, but Eddie Alvarez would have probably been
Yeah,
number
I mean,
one.
dude, he's there. They call him the Underground King for a reason.
Yeah,
And we're about to find that out in what two, they're what 2-3 weeks out now.
they're on the same card as me. It's 8 days, and
Man, he's got what one tonight. There's another one tomorrow, right?
yeah,
This is because
yeah.
of the cancellation from the other event in Florida last month, right?
I do not know. I didn't keep up with that much. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
I've been
basically,
locked in
Dave was
online.
trying to put an event on. I think it was in Delray, and then the mayor, like the night before, was like, "We're not having that in my backyard." Was like, "Wait, how does it?" They go through all the stuff with the athletic commission, and now the mayor wants to have something, so they got pushed back. So I'm assuming that's why we got two tonight, two over this weekend rather.
I didn't even know about that. That's
Freaking,
crazy.
this is what I'm talking about. Like, we're still in this kind of growing stage with what bare knuckle is right now. We're not 50 states verified. We're still like what Dave is doing and what some of the other guys are doing with you guys are still laying the groundwork of getting everything sanctioned, across 50 states, internationally, things of that nature.
Yeah, that's That's gonna be a tough sell for a lot of states, but I don't think it'll take that long.
I don't think it is either, because you really like when you look at it, like if you've sanctioned MMA, you shouldn't have any issue with bare knuckle at the same time. Like I get it where people get upset about like those things, but that's why you have ringside physicians. That's why you have a referee. This is why the athletic commissions are involved. So if you're getting upset about, then you shouldn't have any combat sports in your state, boxing, all of it. If you're going to get upset about bare knuckle, it's all bare knuckle is just an aspect of combat sports without the gloves.
Yeah, I mean, people die in boxing all the time, and people get confused. Those gloves aren't to protect you; they're to protect your.
Again, you're nailing it, dude. People are so confused when it comes to that. You literally seen a fight where a guy was a world champion 5 years ago, just took a punch wrong once in a boxing match. He wasn't the same. He's got severe brain damage, could barely was a guy was a world was a not like the WBC world, but he was like one of these young and up and coming kids. It's you don't want to see that because the glove is just worse. It's just so much worse. People don't understand that. Like that's why MMA fighters had 4-ounce gloves, because there really wasn't that much. Just enough to make sure your knuckles and hands covered. What bare knuckle, in my opinion, has done that is taken us down to, I guess, the elite street level where we were when we wanted to handle situations, with somebody when we were teenagers. Except we're not doing it on cement where somebody could seriously get hurt.
Yeah.
And you have medical officials around and things of that nature. I mean, we've seen weird things when it comes to combat sports. I mean, Dana White has done slap box championships. And then you even look at, I don't know if you've seen this. I came across it the other day. Do you see this thing over in Romania that they're doing? The butt slap championships there. There's a
Oh
little,
my God. No.
they're literally got like the ring girls and like tongs smacking each other in the butt. I'm like, wait, are we really doing this? Is this really a thing?
Well, it's like, what was that called? The females playing football in like their underwear.
Yeah, but yo, some of them girls were legit like badasses. Like they probably like there was probably about like 10 girls who were in that league that legit should have been playing. Some of them I agree were like you're just basically girls running around in bra and underwear, and some of them they were like, well, if that's what we got to do to play, then fuck it, we're gonna play.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some girls who could fucking play that sport, man.
Yeah, it was insane. It really was. But
again, like you said, you marginalized them by that's how you made their uniform.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it draws in this. It's the same demographic of people is drawn into that as it is the slapping each other's butt.
Like the same type of guys who are overly obsessed with women's MMA.
Yeah.
I'm seriously.
Yeah.
But also, you look at like the way a lot of them are marketed, at least in other aspects, and like they play up into it. You know, if that's what these girls are going to do, that's what they do. You know.
I mean, these days it's all about how big of a social media following you can have and stuff like that. So I mean,
we were talking about that, right? Before we came on, it's the social media game is all a part of it. You know, how what you do on your TikTok, what you're doing on your Instagram, it's all plays a part into how you're received by the fans, how engaging you are. Things like it all plays into it. It's not just how good you are in the cage or in the ring, which unfortunately is what it should be. Like, but you go and even look at how the UFC makes things. They don't go over who's the number one fighter versus who's the number one contender. It's basically what matchup makes them the most viewership, money, dollars, etc. gets played into it.
Yeah, and Dana White admits that. I mean, when you talk about the Conor McGregor special thing, and he's like, "Yeah, if you can generate $100 million worth of revenue for the company, then you can do whatever."
Well, that's also like why we're having the conversation why Kobe Covington gets a fight, because he's a controversial guy. That's why he's getting that fight. I don't care what anyone says about it. Yeah, he doesn't quite have those signature wins that you want to see, but that's why he's getting that fight, is because he has other values.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They say he just puts on that act and stuff, you know, and it's entertaining.
Dude, I've interviewed him before the Chaos Covington kind of came out. Dude, like we used to talk like how we like me and you talking like, and then as he was coming up, all of a sudden he stopped following me on Twitter and Instagram and wasn't responding to my messages anymore. He's all Hollywood now and things like that. Like, listen, he is playing a heel part. Let's not mistake that from anything. People calling him fake, phony, whatever. Yeah, he is, but he isn't. He's smart enough to know that that's a persona he is selling and playing on and going through that, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he really turned it around for that. But
Chael's something special and turned it into something else.
Yeah,
obviously Chael's better at it. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean it's Chael Sonnen, but I mean Kobe, I don't know, he's a super impressive fighter. You can't take that away.
I'm not going to take that away from him. I'm not, because a lot of people like to just say, "Oh, like he's garbage. He's a recyclable dude." No, not really. Like you have guys who are really good wrestlers and have really good cardio. I think the only thing you could probably say about him, he doesn't have the bomb power. Like he doesn't got that one hitter quitter power, which a lot of wrestlers tendency do to have. But he's got it everywhere else, man.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think he beats just about anybody else in the division. Just Kamaru Usman had his number. Guy.
He doesn't have that. If he had like Johnny Hendricks' right hand, he'd probably be the most marketable guy in that division.
Yeah, but you're right though. You watch him just haul off and put all of his weight into shots, and people just walk through him.
Now I know we're running late, and I see Tommy's already in the back end here. Dylan, I'm going to talk to you, give you a few more questions about the upcoming fight. do our typical send off. We throw the microphone over you, shoot out, sponsors and things of that nature. And I'm going to hop onto this next interview. But your fight coming up 2 weeks, big card. How excited are you for that? And why should people be tuning in to watch Dillion Winemiller make a statement in his BKFC fight here?
I'm super excited to lead off that card because of how huge it is, and I'm a firm believer in the first couple fights set the tone for the rest of the night. And my fight is going to be fireworks. So, I mean, it's the first fight on the card, and I'm going to open with a bang. I promise.
I love it, man. I'm really looking forward to that event. You already mentioned Eddie. If you take him in Mendes off the card, who are you most excited to see fight on that card?
I mean, obviously, Luke Rockhold and Mike Perry. I like Mike Perry. He's an entertaining guy, man.
Yeah, I think the real question is, does Luke translate over to BKFC? Like, I think he was more of a Muay Thai guy. If you ask my personal opinion, his style as an MMA fighter. Not to sit there and saying he doesn't got hands or anything like that. We clearly, his knockouts speak for themselves. But Mike's looks like he's more made for BKFC. Do you think Mike sends Luke home with his tail between his legs?
I do, unless Luke has come up with a really good way to fight behind his jab and keep this fight long and navigate the ring well. And Mike Perry's just going to push him against it.
That's
he's going to get inside. Mike Perry's a dog.
That's kind of my feeling. What my gut says how this fight will play out. We'll see. Dylan, I know we were a little bit late. Have to cut a little bit short. What I typically do here at the end is kind of throw the proverbial microphone over you, and you would like to thank training partners, teammates, shoot out your social media sites, any sponsors you have, anything you'd like to let the people know that you're doing outside of combat sports that they might not know just seeing your socials. The time is yours, my friend.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna shout out all my sponsors by name because honestly, I got quite a few new ones, and I would have to look at my notes to tell you guys what all my sponsors were. But I like to thank all my training partners, all my sponsors, my coach, Burge Franks especially, and my wife for putting up with me doing all this. So that's it. I appreciate you guys having me.
Well, definitely appreciate you hopping on. Hopefully you are victorious in your debut. We can get you back on here and talk a little bit more combat sports, talking a little bit more about you and your journey as well, Dylan.
All right, I appreciate you guys.
Definitely, we'll definitely have you back on here. Best of skill in the upcoming fight. Do your thing, man. Let the people know what's up.
Absolutely, I intend to.
All right, Dylan. Appreciate the time, my friend.
Oh.
All right, everyone. That was Dillion Winemiller, BKFC fighter. We'll be hopping on that big Luke Rockhold versus Mike Perry and the Eddie Alvarez and Chad Mendes fight. With that being said, gonna hop right into our next guest. He is on the other side of that of the bare knuckle boxing world. He is BK Extreme fighter, Mr. Tommy Turner. How are we doing this evening, Tommy? How are we feeling tonight?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Definitely our pleasure here. We love talking to everyone when it comes to the combat sports world. We're obviously deviants over here. We love every aspect of the sport. We love to talk to a little bit of everybody. Obviously, after you, we're going to be talking to Sam Alvey. We just had Dylan on. He's getting ready for his BKFC fight. You got a big fight that just got announced here a few days ago. You're going to hop over to the pond and be representing in all intents and purposes the USA fighters over here for BYB Extreme. How excited are for you for this fight? How big is it for you to be fighting in the O2 arena?
I'm excited, man. I'm feel lucky to kind of have this opportunity. My second fight in. I'm fighting what arguably could be the pound for pound top guy in bare knuckle. I mean, maybe not a lot of Americans know who he is, but if you know Bare Knuckle, you know who Barrie Jones is.
Yeah.
You know who Sweeney is. So it's a pleasure, to go fight this guy. But we'll bring that belt back home. So.
Like you're sitting there saying, big opportunity for you. You second fight in there, you're getting one of the biggest names, not only in the sport but in your division. I think that also says a lot of how BYB feels about you and where they like to see your star climb to.
Sure. Yeah. No, that and I was surprised because I've boxed pro for the last 12 years. I fought for top ranked DeBella, the big promotions. Nobody's been as easy to work with or nice to work with like BYB has been. As soon as I stepped in, got off the plane, it was like I was part of the family. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, Dada, and the Vasquez team. However you want to word the management structure, that he knows what he's doing, man. Like they were one of the first people to kind of really put this thing on and kind of get behind it. Obviously people who really don't know who Dada is, obviously he's part of where this world kind of started from. So
yeah.
Like it's nice to see somebody like Dada still involved in it, still doing the promoting sort of thing, because that's really what, in all intents and purposes, even when he was fighting, that's what he was really doing, was promoting. So
yeah.
It's really nice that not only Dada, to see Mike, all these guys continue to push forward. But I also like the way you got that Mike is doing things. Like, I just had Dillion on. We were talking about how BKFC's done it now. They've obviously have the shock and awe effect for your casual fans. That's great for getting eyes onto the sport as a whole. But I think the way Mike is building it is also special. You're not going, spending all this money for this name guy or that name guy, where you're only going to see them two or three times over the next 3 years, which isn't really that great putting out for your investment. I've already said it. I hope in 5 years' time from now, where the sport has been around for 10 years, we can have a true tournament. MMA has stolen that from us over the years, between what UFC buying up everybody, how they go about promoting things. No one wants to work with each other. We don't really know who the best in the world is. Everyone likes to throw the word GOAT around all the time. Well, how can we determine that? Because we don't really have the best fighters in the world fighting each other. Obviously, Bare Knuckle needs some time to kind of get their feet in the ground, build divisions up, find out who's here, who's there, what weight do they belong in, what are we calling each weight class, things of that nature. Sure. And then I would, at some point in time, hopefully would love to see both of these promotions get together and hold it. Do kind of like what Pride and Risen were doing. Hold like a once-a-year tournament where you don't have to have your best fighters on the card, but put together things on pick out a weight class. Like, hey, we're overloaded at welterweights. Let's put on an end-of-year show. We'll do one Christmas Eve, one New Year's Eve. One promotion gets this day, one promotion gets that day, and you get a handful of guys together to figure out who's the best in the world. I think it would be something fun to look forward to in the future. Don't know if that could ever happen, just because of how the nature of promoting in this sport works.
Right.
But it's something like, I would love to see in a few years, maybe something that could be discussed, Mike, Dave, or whoever. Like I just sitting there said, we're seeing Valor's about to kick off, that what's Ken Shamrock's behind. They just signed LeVar Johnson. They're getting some of the big boys involved over there. We're starting to see Bare Knuckle as a whole starting to really grow, like kind of how we've seen in the late 90s, early 2000s, what happened with MMA.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can see them grow on a similar scale moving forward. We don't know, but we could say the one thing is, we know combat sports fans love good fights, and I think bare knuckle boxing is definitely something that's going to stay. It's not a niche. It's not going to disappear in 2 years.
Right. No, and I think it's headed that way. Especially with like BYB and BKB teaming up together.
That's important too. Like people underestimate, like people don't really understand. Like that's what really made the UFC where they are today was getting overseas. We know what it is in the United States. We are absolute deviants for any type of fighting. It doesn't matter. Look at what pro wrestling is. Do we not love crazy nonsense storylines, fights, whatever? That some of the stuff that naturally happens in combat sports plays along them lines, and that's why it's as popular. It's why we've seen basically the UFC's parent company buy the WWE over the last month. It's why you see some of those things. I thought, the UFC has a great plan in place if you look at moving forward with Israel and Alex, because you have a natural rivalry there with everything that transpired with them over the last 5 years. That's promotion you can't buy.
Right.
But it has to be natural. It has to be something that, like, everything that happened after Izzy won that fight, the stuff that came out of what Alex Kidd did after Izzy's got knocked out, and what Izzy's response to it. And you have a big potential third fight that could happen at any point in time over the next year and a half with them.
Right.
Where you look in bare knuckle, you don't have natural rivalries that way. You even look what BKFC's doing with Christine and Beck. Beck hasn't fought in BKFC in 5 years, but she's going right into a title fight. I think that's going more along the line as Christine has wiped out her entire division, and they're looking for anyone name value or anything to kind of make her title run and her she is the best bare knuckle boxing female in the world, period. Doesn't matter what weight class we're talking about, but she doesn't have anyone at that weight class that could challenge her anymore.
Right.
And I think she was almost in a kind of similar situation when she was doing Lions fight in Muay Thai. There wasn't anyone really for her to fight.
Right.
But I think
the ladies need like a Holly Holm or a Chris Cyborg to hop over.
But I don't even think you need that for Christine. You just need somebody who can throw their hands that's not going to crumble after 3 punches.
Right.
You had Britain Hart go up and fight her, but you just look at how Britain's looked her last 2 fights. She belongs at that weight class down at 115 pounds.
Yeah.
So where does that leave Christine? You don't have any flyweights that are leaving the UFC, Bellator, Invicta, etc., that could potentially come over to bare knuckle. That would be a direct challenge for her. I mean, I thought Helen Peralta might have been a fun one because Helen beat them in their first fight way back when we're talking within the first 10 events of bare knuckle. They've obviously gone in completely different direction since then. Helen's been kind of more concentrating on MMA, trying to make that going to Ultimate Fighter, PFL, and Invicta. Like, she's trying to make MMA work. Where Christine has been specifically concentrated on being the best female bare knuckle boxer in the world. Yep. You don't have anyone else to her to build up. Now we're looking at what BYB has. They are building the women's featherweight division for bare knuckle.
Oh yeah,
you have Josette Cotton, you got Jamie Driver. They're going to about to be fight. That's going to be an amazing fight.
That would.
Even more so, like we're talking about Christine being the best. She's also really sensitive about that. Picked a fight with Jamie a few weeks ago because Jamie was excited about BoxRec having her ranked as the number one.
I saw that actually.
Feather, welterweight and bare knuckle boxing. Then you see Christine hop on her comments, sitting there telling her to get her fights up. I'm like, you're 2 weight classes below her. Why are you even commenting on what your different promotion, different weight class? Why are we talking about it? Christine is the best 125-pound bare knuckle boxer. No argument about that. If Jamie's the number one right now in her weight, it doesn't matter because you two are in totally different weight classes.
You're right. Exactly.
It's really weird to see how some of that stuff transpires sometimes with some of these people. But I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right.
We're always gonna debate who's the pound for pound this, who's the number one of that. It's always gonna be a point topic of debate. And it really, like, when it comes to combat sports, do we have any solid ground on that? We don't. It's
No.
just it's somewhere here, it's somewhere there. You know,
Right.
it's always subjective.
Right.
We don't have writers or anything like that on the level where you have in other sports where you can get some common ground to that. Just like how we're talking about when we talk about the GOATs. I hate that comment.
Right.
Because
Like
even when we're talking about in MMA, all right, so are we talking about now? Are we talking
Right.
about over all of time? Are we talking about in eras? Or
Yeah.
which weight class are we talking about? Because that's another one too.
Yeah. And it'll never stop. I mean, you look at like basketball or football, you can see stats.
But
That tells you everything you need to know.
Changed so
But
many
to
times
this
over
day-
that period of time. Like, how can we, like, all right,
Right.
the one in football right now is Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever.
Right.
But he's also lost multiple Super Bowls to guys
Right.
he probably should have beaten hands down. Eli Manning twice,
Yep.
lost to my Eagles and Nick Foles. Eli's arguably a Hall of Famer because he's won 2 Super Bowls over Tom Brady. And that's me as an Eagles fan saying that's a hard pill to swallow. But then when you look at the quarterback thing, go look what Joe Montana did.
Sure.
Like he won with 2 different coaches too.
Yep.
Right. Obviously, you know Stiefer wins another one there at the end with Steve Young after Joe retires. His back is messed up. He goes to Kansas City, whatever. But I still think you have to sit there and say Joe was probably the best of them because he didn't. The game was a completely different game when Joe was playing than where Tom is because the game had changed to the point where the main goal was to protect the quarterback and keep them outright. Not only that, you know, we've also know the other things about it where like you have those situations where those other things that go on the rule changes and stuff like that. People feel like, you know, Tom's a cheater or the Patriots were cheaters, but those are things that we can argue and discuss over that. When we talk about combat sports, like even like we just had what was it? Anthony Joshua was basically sitting there saying he's the best knockout artist of all time. When we have guys like Mike Tyson running around,
yeah.
so it's
Wilder was saying
we're all
that too.
subjective to things, and Mike Tyson's list of knockout names are it's insanity.
Right.
And that's like when you talk about nowadays, when we talk about combat sports, until somebody completely dismantled John Jones in the cage, not John unraveling himself, not not the 12-6 elbow fight against Matt Hamill. Somebody has to absolutely beat John Jones for him not to be the best pound for pound fighter in the world.
Right. Yeah.
And that's even me where I've been so hard on John over the last 5 years because of how stupid he's been outside of it, because of how amazing that man is inside of that cage.
Oh yeah. It's always guys with that natural ability and shitloads of talent that just kind of but
it's something about combat sports is the guy that works the hardest to always get there. So it's like when Glover Teixeira finally won that world title, that was special for everyone in combat sports because everyone knows the road that he had to take to go get there.
Right.
Like, you know, like even when Robbie Lawler was a champion for the period of time that he was, it was because he was one of those guys that worked through this, that worked through that to get there, to build himself up. Those are stories that everyone loves in combat sports. It doesn't matter if we're talking boxing, MMA, or bare knuckle these days. It's those stories that kind of make people relate to them. That's why X Fighter becomes so special. So this, so that. It's because of what they do. Like you remember like the late 90s, early 2000s boxing, and some of that stuff was just like the Arturo Gatti fights. Arturo Gotti's like this well-renowned boxer. Was he ever a multiple-time world champion? Was he the best? No. He just put all of this and his heart, his body, his mind, and soul into that ring, and the people love him for that. That's why when we talk about fictional characters, that's why everyone loves Rocky Balboa the way they love him.
Yep.
The underdog who persevered and became the best in the world. The people relate to those stories. They love those stories.
Yeah. And it's funny if I thought back of a fighter that I'd like to see fight with no gloves on, it'd be Arturo Gatti would be on top of my list. just because of
I was asking Dylan, like we always talk about these GOAT lists. I have this thing. I love the Mount Rushmore thing. Like if we could have any fighter from any period of time come in and go into what bare knuckle boxing is today, who would your 5 be? I mean, most of mine are from those Pride days. Who would yours be? Who would yours be, Tommy?
Well, you've named 2 of them. Mike. I mean, Mike would be knocking dudes out. Tyson. Arturo Gatti would just put on the bloodiest, most entertaining fights. Then you think back to guys like Jake LaMotta.
So you're going pure boxers. I love it.
Well, no, there's a few like Boss. Honestly, I'd like to see Boss Rutten. He fought without gloves, but he did that like open palm stuff.
Yeah, he did open. Could you imagine him in the slap boxing champions that Dana had? Knocking everyone out.
I'd watch that one.
You have?
Yeah, and then I don't know. There's too many UFC guys that I think would do great, like current.
Yeah, that's why I said, like, dude, like, how do you have BKFC then not have like a Vonderlei Silva or a Rampage Jackson? Like those guys were absolutely terrifying.
Right.
Mauricio Shogun Huan too. He was another one.
No, I remember when I first started fighting, Tito was on top of the world, and
oh man, yeah,
that was big dog. That's when I was fighting amateurs, so that'll tell you how long.
Tito's another one too, man. I think a lot of people don't give him. He could take hits, dude. No one could take punches like Tito, man.
Yeah, except who did he box recently? Like within the last 2 years?
No, Anderson. Anderson.
Yeah, and I watched that knockdown.
Like, if they were doing that 10 years ago, that's another story.
It would be different, yeah.
I mean, Anderson still destroyed him because at that point in time, he was like freaking. He was the Matrix. You know what I mean? No one could figure him out at that point in time.
Yeah.
I still remember being at UFC 101, still not believing he stopped Forrest Griffin until I got home and see the replay.
Right.
Like, no, it's an early stop. I didn't the whole way home. I'm sitting there like, oh, they just stole money from us. Got home, was like, oh, wait, no. You can clearly see Forrest looks like he's looking somewhere way past him. He don't know where he's at.
Right. Yeah, he was lost.
I mean, that like there's so many like what ifs when we're talking about who could have possibly come over and do it. Like, like you brought in a lot of boxes. Like, like I would still love to see what the Executioner, the Philly boy himself, Bernard Hopkins would have been a real fun bare knuckle boxer.
Hey, Gabe Rosado.
Like we could go so many different ways with this.
And Rosado's not a guy that you're gonna be like, oh, he's one of the greatest boxers, because he's not. But he's always fighting top guys, and he puts on a show. So I mean, he's a Philly guy, ain't he? Yeah.
Listen, we got a lot of them. Philly's like the quietly over the last 10 years have kind of rebuild up the prospect pool in it. Like, I think right now we got 5 or 6 guys in the UFC.
Yeah.
Where like 6-7 years ago, the only one we had was Eddie.
Yeah. Well, no, I fought the Philly boy himself, Jesse Hart. I don't know if he's still fighting. I don't know if he's fighting anymore, but
I don't think
we fought a couple world title fights, but yeah.
Now it's what's the kid name? He's undefeated. He's like 24, 25-0. Jaron Ennis. He's the new kid here, Billy. He's the new crowning prince coming up, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's definitely one of the ones you keep your eye on. But you look in the UFC right now. I mean, it's obviously Sean Brady there in the welterweight division. In that division, I think fighting tomorrow, you got Jeremiah Wells? That dude's got insane power, dude. Insane.
Right.
And you got Andre Petrovsky and Joey Pfeiffer, like Pat Sabatini. Like, Philadelphia is coming up in the MMA side of it. Hopefully we could start getting some more overall combat sports athletes out there. I already mentioned Ennis with boxing and stuff like that. Hopefully we get Eddie doesn't become our last bare knuckle boxer for a while. Hopefully we get some more coming out of there. That's just the Philly in me, the homerism coming out. But your fight over the pond, O2 Arena, is that another big one for you, man? Like, I say that everyone talks about Madison Square Garden, Las Vegas here in the United States. Is O2 Arena like the mecca for combat sports outside of the United States?
I would say it is, yeah. Within the last few years, I mean, from what I've seen.
I would say more than the last few years. Like, for a while outside of the United States, it was just Japan. The Saitaya Super Arena was the place. But I think since the UFC started going overseas after the launch of the Ultimate Fighter and them really expanding, that the O2 Arena has been quietly the place. If you're fighting in the UK, that is Mecca for combat sport. That's where everyone goes anymore. If you had, is that going to be something that'll kind of be a special moment as you're walking out, like, hey, like O2 Arena, this fight was here, this fight was there, and now I'm gonna write my own page into the O2 Arena history.
Yeah. Again, I'm just thankful to be able to do this, and fight there and fight. It's kind of two birds in one stone. I'm getting who these guys want to. Again, that GOAT word, they keep throwing that GOAT word out there, and his name seems to be attached to it a lot. So I get to go after him, and I get to go do it at the O2. And I get to go to London. So, I mean, that's cool.
That's one of the other questions I always say. So London's a spot, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, BKFC's grown, and you bought boxing for years. What are some places before you retire that you would love to have stamped on that passport that you places you fought at, just that you feel like you have to go before you call it a career?
Japan would probably be Japan. I'm half Japanese. That's why I got they call me the samurai. I've never been. I do have relatives that we've been in touch with, so I've always wanted to go to Japan. Not only because of like my
that's your heritage, but
what I am, but
places like we were talking about, right?
Yeah. It's they love watching fights, man. They don't care if you're white, black, green.
That's a special place, man. Like where you could. They have such respect for the athletes. Like you don't like when you go to other places, it's so loud. The energy is so loud, and it's a different energy when you go to Japan, things of that nature. It's so weird.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not a surprise considering that, it's just another place of where combat sports, originates from.
Yep.
I heard, you're sitting there saying Japan, and the other two places I always hear is Australia.
Yeah.
And obviously for the Muay Thai guys, it's being to those roots there too.
Yeah, Australia would be nice. I mean, I'm not big on like snakes and big spiders and crap, but that'd be cool.
Yeah, man, it's one of the cool things I think, as fighters, that you guys get these opportunities to be able to travel and do things that if me or you held regular 9-to-5s, never would have the opportunities to go fight in London, go fight in Japan, Australia, etc. It's one of those things that I think is unique. I think it's you guys kind of get to have these great experiences that you really can't put a price tag on, man.
No, you can't. And we're making history now, like especially this bare knuckle thing and this new tournament, and so it's not only like what you were just saying, but it's something like when I'm gone, my kids can be like, yeah, that first bare knuckle tournament my dad fought in the main event, like just things like that, so
yeah, it's so you guys are doing a lot of firsts, like but especially what BYB and BKB are doing together. Obviously they were the first ones that put the female fights on.
Yeah.
Over there. Like, now you're, there are multiple fights in. We're crowning. We're going to be crowning another champion for them in next few weeks, months to come. Man, it's interesting to see how it's continuing to grow. Like I said, it's a beautiful thing. Why I love that we have all this parity when it comes to bare knuckle boxing, that we don't have what the UFC has become into, where the majority of the casuals just think that the UFC is the only show in town.
Right.
One of the things why I love talking to all all the fighters, from the UFC fighters that are on the main card, they're on the pay-per-views, the ones that are on the undercard, to even some of the guys who are on the local pro-ams. Like
Yeah.
you all have unique stories and things to tell, and different perspectives on life and things like that nature. Like even though you looking at today, like you see what's going on with Bellator. Ray Bork
Oh yeah.
missed weight again.
Yeah.
To the point where his management company makes a statement that they're no longer working with him. Then Bellator, the next 20 minutes, makes a statement that he's released from Bellator. He hasn't even made his debut for them yet. He was having weight troubles when it went before he left the UFC. It looks like it is still currently following him. Is that, as a fighter, man, is that one of the things that just irritates the most out of you? It's the first thing that you guys do, right? Is make weight.
Yeah, actually, I mean, nothing but respect to him. I fought Antonio Tarver Jr. 2 years ago, and he came in 27 pounds overweight.
That's three weight classes up.
We were supposed to fight at
3 weight classes.
We were supposed to fight at 160.
What?
And I got to weigh-ins, and the promoter goes, "Hey, just go ahead and drink your water." And I was like, "No, man, I haven't made weight yet." "No, you need to drink that water, and you might as well go get a bite to eat." So they knew what they were doing to me. But yeah, I still fought him. I beat him for 3 rounds, and then he landed a nice liver shot. And then he fought for a title after that, I think. But I mean, his dad's a great.
One thing, like, you think is like the dishonorable thing about what goes on between promoter fighters and combat sports is, knowing a situation, and then you're not let known of it. You're draining yourself all the way down, and then they're like, "Oh, well, just go ahead and do this and do that." Like, it's one of the things. Like, all right, like, we are contracted to fight at freaking weight, man.
Yeah,
I'm sitting there busting my ass for the last 3 to 6 weeks, however it winds up being, how long camp was or whatever.
Yep, I've never missed weight, so for me, it's hard to see like how this guy missed weight. I don't understand it because I've never missed. But
all right, but as we're getting ready to move into the next part of this, we got Sam in the back here. Tommy, what I like to do is kind of throw the proverbial microphone over you. Anyone would like to thank training partners, teammates, shoot out them social media sites, any sponsors you work with, anything you're doing outside of the combat sports world you'd like to let the people know. The time is yours, Tommy.
Right on. Appreciate it. I'll try to remember all my sponsors. I got quite a few right now. Small Town Fitness, and Toby Clary. It's my strength and conditioning coach. Has been pushing me. So thank you. Boomerang Tattoo, Raimundo's Food Truck, Tiger Strike Protein and Nutrition, Bling It with Tennessee, Lazy Walking K Construction. I'm going to miss a few, but I will shout you guys out soon. And then just a shout out to BYB. Let's go across the pond and get this done.
Well, definitely going to be looking forward to on my end, Tommy. Appreciate your time. Best of skill in the fight. Is that June 25th that you're going to be heading over there?
Yes, sir. June 25th.
June 25th. Make sure you guys are locked in. BYB Extreme. Tommy's going to be fighting one of the best BKB fighters at his weight class. Challenge for that title in the O2 arena. Tommy, best of skill, my friend. We'll definitely be in touch.
Hey, thank you.
Obviously, no problem, brother. All right, that being said, hitting it into the next part of it, the final aspect of the evening, the big man himself, the former UFC middleweight, Mr. Smiling Sam Alvey. Sam, as always, appreciate the time, brother.
Oh, you're
Could be
very
happy to
welcome.
see your big old grin over here, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for wanting me on, my friend. Hey,
Oh, dude,
my
it's always a
pleasure.
pleasure, man. Always love picking your brain. Love hearing your insights into sports. Obviously, you've been over the past year or so been really getting into the social media side of things. Loving to see your TikToks, your short videos. Loving the content, brother.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. I've really been I mean, TikTok is great, but I've been making a huge push on YouTube right now. YouTube's much more difficult than the short form social media, but I'm figuring it out. And anyone watching, go, tell me. I just posted tonight. I've got a pick about Belal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns. I love that fight. I just made the
Oh
video
man,
and
I
I
can't wait
posted
for
it a
that
little
one
bit
either.
ago.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Oh my god.
Oh, it's just so good. Like I forget Belal Muhammad's in the division. Like he's the most forgettable guy ever. At least in my mind, I just never think about it. But then they said Burns is fighting. He's like, oh my god, that fight is like perfect. That is just the perfect fight.
Especially after he just stopped Sean Brady, who was undefeated in like 26 fights up until that point in time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, had a big win. Everyone was saying Bull's next. Obviously, Kobe's got the fight now. Everything is going what they were. But I actually like this matchup a lot better. There's no way that if Bulla wins that fight, you could say no to him anymore, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. It depends. So I go over it in my video. It depends on how they win.
It does.
Like,
it really does.
If it goes to decision, maybe you still put Kobe because Kobe is the bigger draw. However they win, Kobe's the bigger draw. But if Gilbert goes out there and just floors him or puts him down, or Belal goes in there and just put Gilbert down, it would be hard not to let them jump Kobe and then let Kobe fight the loser.
It's one of these strange things. Is what I was talking about with Tommy, where we're at in this sport. Everyone likes to throw around who's the best pound for pound, who's the go to this. Like there's so much moving parts when that, especially when it comes to the UFC. You can sit there and say that Bulla was the number one ranked contender at welterweight, but one of those things you've already brought that when Dana had done this and it made rankings public, he very made it adamant that they are not going to follow it to a T. They would make fights how they felt would be best for champion, promotion, challenger, etc. Regardless of how people feel, like we were talking about Kobe, like a lot of people feel he puts on a stick. He is somebody who people tune into, love him, hate him, loathe him.
Yeah.
Now, he may not have these great signature wins or things of that nature, but I get why they would make this fight.
No, absolutely. Gilbert, I think he sells too, maybe more in Brazil than anywhere else. Belal, he just hasn't done it. I mean, he doesn't get brought up to me, but a big win over Gilbert, even on, I guess it's short notice, right? 3 weeks for Gilbert and 3 weeks for Belal. 3 big win like that will make people tune in for him to fight Leon.
I think no matter what, I think people are going to be tuning into Leon just because of what he's done over his last 2 fights. He's one of these guys. It's kind of like the Glover story where you see the guy that's been overlooked for so long finally put in his dues, work hard enough, get the title fight, and win it.
Get that shot, yeah. Take advantage of that shot. That's the hard
man.
That's gonna be my comeback story. So I'm fighting May 27th. It's the first fight. I'm gonna pump out 6 wins in a row this summer alone. And then I'll get back in the UFC.
Wait, so you got a fight lined up. Where are we fighting, Sam?
Oh, yeah. So I've tried to fight everywhere. I have accepted like 9 different fights, and people just keep turning me down. They say, no. So I reached out to, I'm a commentator with the B2FS organization. They're one of the bigger, smaller organizations, under Bellator organizations. Feeder organizations is what they like to be called. So I'm a commentator with them. I reached out to the guys, I can't find anyone. I'll fight any weight class. And so they found a big heavyweight willing to step in the cage with me. And so I'm fighting heavyweight my next fight, May 27th.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's some news. Obviously, it's been since August since you've been in there?
Man, I've accepted fights since December. Before my jaw was even set, I was accepting fights. Russia reached out and they said, I was in talks with Bare Knuckle, just saying, hey, Bare Knuckle. And they said, Sam, we're not going to pay you this or that, but Russia will. Here's a Russian fight. They're looking for an ex-UFC 205-pound fighter recently cut. I said, that is me. Like, exactly. I'm in. He said, it's in 2 weeks on Christmas Day in Russia. And I said, okay, I'm in. Let's do it. And then Russia turned me down. They said, we changed our mind. They said, but we'll get you in February. I said, okay, let's do it in February. And then they said, we changed our mind. How about April? And I've accepted everyone, and they keep turning me down. So I reached out to B2, and B2 found a fighter's fighter, someone that wants to step up no matter who they're fighting. And
now you got to answer me this one. I've seen some of the news articles over the last few weeks where they're like, oh, BKFC can't afford Sam Alvey anymore because they signed all these guys. What is this freaking nonsense of some of these, I guess people follow the algorithm. Like, what is this? Because I know that's not the case, right?
Yeah. So I put out a YouTube video explaining my fight and why I'm fighting, who I'm fighting. And they just read what I said wrong. BKFC, they never offered me anything. We were talking and it just never panned out. They said, Russia will be able to pay you more. I said, oh, fantastic. These MMA journalists, they already all BKFC.
We probably read 2 lines of the video. I was like, okay, let's run with that.
Yeah, and so I said, oh, that's not what I said, but I'm hoping BKFC doesn't think poorly of me for them running with.
I'm sure when something comes up, Dave will. That's all right. That's all right, Sam. We're used to technical difficulties. It happens from time.
That was my alarm reminding me I was supposed to be on a podcast with you.
That's a little late there, right, brother?
Hey, that was 9 minutes later. It was 9 minutes after the first one went off.
But no, I mean, I think you probably, obviously, with how the combat sport world works out, I think we will see you in either BKFC or some type of bare knuckle promotion at some point in time this year.
I'm in. I would love to fight for BKFC. They're an incredible organization. I love their Knuckle Mania. I was looking for 85 or 205, and they said, well, we're not quite building 85 or 205 yet. If you want to go heavyweight, we can put you up against, Rothwell. And I said, good God, he's huge. So
well, Rothwell looks like he needs one because he just lost Watson. Watson had to pull out with an injury. So
shoot, maybe I should hit him up. Say,
I think they just got him a replacement for that.
Okay.
It's not the same though. No.
Yeah. Well, so it's they said 85 and 205 we're not building right now, and I said, okay, well that's fine.
I mean, here's some free lunch for you. Greg Hardy just said he's not going back to BKFC. He's staying with boxing. Maybe you could beat him up for a free purse.
I would fight him in boxing. I'd rather fight with the gloves on with those big guys.
Especially when you're asking around for like 85, 205, and like, how about a heavyweight? And you're like, how much
I've gotten
heavyweight is he?
Since the UFC, I've been lifting. I've lived in that weight room, and I've gained probably 10, 15 pounds. So I'm a good light heavyweight now. And if I wanted to be 85, I'd have to lose some weight. But I'm so far from being an actual heavyweight. I'd be willing to do it.
Since the cut, you've been in the gym, obviously healthy, and so we put on some weight. So obviously we may not be a true middleweight anymore.
Yeah, if I would need time to make middleweight again. I'm a solid 235 right now. And actually my body fat, I've gotten it to go down. I've gained weight and lost body fat, which is like hard to do, but I did it. Not much. I was at 19. I'm at like 18 now, but it's a win.
It's a win when we get older, right, Sam?
I'll take it. Yeah. I'm lifting heavier than I've ever lifted. I'm not worried about hurting myself. In the UFC, I got to be worried about hurting myself because I've always got to fight. Now I can't get a fight, so I'm just gonna lift everything I can.
I don't blame you right there, man. Like you were in a rough spot there at the end of your UFC career. Obviously, not how you wanted to leave the organization, not how you wanted to go out. Obviously, but being, like I said, the way the current climate is in combat sports, I think you might be in a better spot just overall. Just because you're not pinned down to the UFC. Obviously, there's pros and cons when it comes to that, but I still think of way money-wise it works. How the popularity thing works. I think you're better off doing what you're doing now, being a free agent moving forward until whatever opportunities get laid in front of you that you think is right.
Till I get to fight Jake Paul or Logan Paul.
And that's the next one I was going to ask you about. I know it's one thing you were pulling for that for a while. You seen Jake's getting lined up with Nate. Was that something a lot of us expected once he was officially out of the contractual stuff with the UFC that fight was going to happen?
It surprised me that it was boxing. He said there's big news. He signed with the PFL and it's going to be huge.
Yeah, everyone thought. Yeah, but the PFL wasn't going to pay both of them.
And for a day and a half, I thought, well, hell, MMA, this is fantastic. And then everyone was picking Jake Paul to win. And I said, in MMA, how is Jake Paul going to beat him?
No, even in boxing, everyone's like, well, I mean, I have this thing against Jake. I will not give him credit for anything until he fights a natural 85 or 205er because he's been picking on these older UFC welterweights for whatever reason. You could say whatever you want to say, but everyone kind of knew where his first fight was. That he was fighting a guy with one hip. Tyron, he wasn't the same fighter was when he made those championship runs. All he really had was that overhand right. If you know the one guy's real weapon, you could in boxing you could take that away from him if all he has an overhand right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So obviously a lot of us kind of felt we knew where that fight was going to go. Takes the fight with Anderson. Yeah.
50-year-old Anderson.
Yeah, basically 50-year-old Anderson. If that fight would have been fun 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, 10 years ago, I don't think it would have been fun. It would have just been Anderson.
No, it would have been fun for us to watch because a lot of us will feel vindicated what Anderson did to him.
Yeah.
But then you're looking at the Diaz fight now. That a lot of people are like, oh, well, Jake's gonna beat Nate up. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm not so sure he will. I know Nate doesn't get tired. Jake does. Jake is good for a solid 3 rounds, and then he dies off hardcore, and then he starts hanging on him. Diaz does get hit earlier in the fight. I could see Diaz getting hit in the first second, dropped once or twice, getting back up like he always does. But his sheer volume and pressure is going to overwhelm Jake. It'll be, if you saw against Tommy Fury, he hugged him for a lot. If Diaz can figure out how to get away or counter those, hugging, resting positions, Diaz will be able to just tee off on him come round.
I see him doing a whole lot of Stockton slapping early on. not even really throwing punches, just getting him mad with exactly.
I hope so.
Getting Jake out of his game and then starts unloading with body shots going up and down. Yeah. And that's when we start seeing Nate doing Diaz things.
I hope so. I hope
that's how I think a lot of us hope that fight really plays out.
Yeah, I hope Jake scares him into MMA, and then I hope I get that fight. I'm just trying to rack up a couple wins before it's offered, but we've made it clear to the PFLs that I'm the man.
So you've already tried to get that PFL debut, right?
Yeah, well, I'm sure the way it works with Jake is they line up the next 4 or 5 fights for him. I'm sure they're going to try and pad is the wrong word because it's MMA any given Sunday kind of thing, but give him favorable fights. Yeah. And a guy who just had the worst streak in UFC history is on paper a favorable fight for him.
Exactly. That's why Sam's like, please underestimate me. Please.
Underestimate. Don't worry about the decisions I lost that I shouldn't have. You just look at the tap.
Look, I got a weak jaw. I broke my jaw the last time.
Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you about that situation too. Like obviously taking it out on how it went, but also the injury on top of that. Is that one of those things that just it really takes you back down to the beginning and humbles you to a point, or is it just something where I got hurt, I'm out of the one of the bigger combat sports promotions in the world, but I still have this.
It's scary. I've had the last decade of my life with a fight coming up, with money coming in. Now I don't have that. Now it's I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do, or I'm gonna have to get a job, a job that can support my 6 kids and wife. So, and it's if I have to, I will, and I'm happy to do it. I've just got more to give in the arena. I got to come up with that opportunity to do it, to get out there and shine and work my way back into a high paying, striking position.
Now, obviously, like you said, it is a scary thing when you've been in this situation where you've been so used to how everything's been done over the last 5-6 years or whatever. Now you're in this instability place. You don't know when the next fight's coming. You don't know when this is coming. Is it one of those weird situations where it puts you in new situations, new waters, makes you think differently, act differently?
I hope not. I'll let you know after May 27th. I feel good. You know, I train with some really good guys, and I can beat anyone. On any given day, I'll beat anyone in the world. I just got to do it in the ring. I understand. I am a good training partner for people like Dan Henderson, Sean Strickland, Chris Curtis. I'm a guy they call. Ed Herman just called to help me train. I'm a guy of that next level, that next caliber. I just got to stay as sharp as I can and win when I can now. And on top of all that, I'm working. It gives me a moment to really push my social media game, really try and give back to the fans. I'm one of the few fighters that understands that I wouldn't have had a job if not for people like you, fans of the sport, fans of mine that tune in to watch. I only had that terrible streak because people tuned in to watch me. Had I not been selling, pay-per-views, had I not been selling TV shows, but I would have been let go a long time ago. And so it's really a chance for me, particularly on my YouTube, to give back whatever I can to the MMA community. Because I wouldn't have had the career, the life I have without you guys. So I am so appreciative of you.
It's one of the genuine things, one of the reasons I love talking to you, dude, is because you're just one of these ho-hum genuine guys. It's like you like, yeah, I've been here, I've been there, I've done this, I fought here. As you're just naming like all the guys you train. Like you've talked to guys, I've talked to guys in the sport like, oh, well, I've done this, and like I don't know if you've seen it. A few months ago, I got into first round management because their fighter was asking me for money for an interview. I don't do that. Dude, I've interviewed guys like Ron Jaworski, NFL guys. They've never asked me for money. We're gonna interview a guy from your management company that's making his debut.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's not how we go about things between media and athletes. It's never how we've done it. I don't know if it's one of the guys commented on it. He's like, this is a Patty Pimblett thing. I'm like, I don't necessarily think it's a Patty Pimblett thing. Like Patty had a beef with Ariel, made it personal, like did what he did because he could do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a general consensus of how athletes in the UFC and combat sports think of when they have to do media. Like I generally ask these people to do things on their free time. I'm not going to ask you to go outside of your schedule. If I'm asking you to go somewhere to do something and do the interview, yeah, you absolutely have the right to ask me for money at that point in time because I'm taking you out of your general schedule at what you're doing on a general basis to come and do something. That, yes, you can ask me to pay for X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I've never asked anyone for money out of an interview. It is the least I can do is to talk to people that help give me the life I have. So I'm so thankful. I realize there will come a day, not a person on the planet is going to care what I have to say. There's not going to be a person that remembers smiling Sam except my kids, and that's why I have a lot of them. So while the iron's hot, I want to spend every second I can giving back to the people that helped give me the life I have.
Same thing I do. Like we're like, this is like my third media network I'm working with, helping these guys grow now. We just hit 1K subscribers on YouTube. We're doing a signed jersey giveaway that, I've collected over the years. We're doing all kinds of stuff. I just launched another show here, doing like sports cards and hobbying and stuff like that. So we're looking to do like other things. And I love like the same thing like you. Like I understand we're not here doing the things we love without the people who support us. It's the same thing. Like, when we get done with this, I'll probably also send you a message, see if we can send you some cards or do some grading with the grading company that we work with. Yeah. It's one of these things. Like I always love to make sure I'm engaging with not only the athlete that I'm talking to, but also doing things that make us all want to engage in what we're doing. Want to make people engage with Sam, want to people get engaged with what Steve's doing, what Belly Up's doing, etc. You have to do something outside of just having the athlete down for an interview, have them talking about something interesting, get the fans reason to be engaged. That's why everyone becomes where they become. That's why, Stephen A. Smith is where he is, or Ariel Helwani is where he is, or you even look at, some of the stars that are in the sports that take best advantage of it. Like I said, I think you're in one of those unique spots. You are the humble guy, but you're also a guy that gets it, knowing how to talk to people, knowing like when to engage, like knowing when to engage people and stuff, and when to just ignore it and let it go down the line. Right?
Well, Chuck, you're making me blush. Please go on.
But like it's one of the things that I think that gets lost in some of the stuff that we all do when it comes to media, what you guys do with fighting. Like there's a lot of stuff that gets lost and people don't understand some of the stuff that you guys go to. But there's also things where I think everyone can have a learning experience and environment and have fun in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
And now it's one of these things where I'm really looking forward to this next fight because I want to see where you wind up going next, Sam. Like I said, you're one of these guys I want to see succeed. I want to see get to the top.
I appreciate that. I'm going to go out May 27th. You can watch me on Fight TV, FITE, the app. I'll also be on Fubo, FUBO or FOBU. They're just starting. The first show they put on there's going to be in like 2 weeks, so I'm still learning it. But you'll be able to watch me on that. As soon as I know how to spell it, I'll be posting it everywhere. But I'm going to go out there and make a statement. I'm going to prove I am not done. I've not had my last best fight. And I'm going to make a statement. Luke Rockhold is next. Jake Paul is next. Perry is next. I'll fight whoever wants to step up.
I would actually think the Luke Rockhold fight will make sense because I think he's going to lose against Perry.
You think so?
I don't think he's a bare knuckle boxer. I don't even think he's a boxer. Like if you ask me, I felt his style when he was a combat sports guy leaned more towards Muay Thai.
Yeah,
100%. Not to sit there and say he doesn't have hands to do, but I just think that the style that Mike fights in is bad for what Luke's going to try to do in bare knuckle. Now we're still looking at this with blind eyes. We don't know how he's going to come out, but generally looking at it, I think if Mike gets inside, there's no chance Luke can win that fight. But if Luke can keep Mike on the outside of him and keep his range, it might be a long night for Mr. Perry. But I just don't see that happening.
Luke is so much bigger. I mean,
he is.
I'll bet you he's got 8 inches on Perry. I was sparring with a boy last weekend who was 6. He was like 6'5", 6'6". He was a heavyweight, and I had a hard time hitting him. And he was only 3 or 4 inches taller than me. And it was Muay Thai, so it was a little different. But so I had to swing real big to get in close enough to do anything to him. Perry might have it in him to do, but Luke has fought the better competition. Luke has fought a lot more of everybody. And that size advantage.
Luke was the world champion who stopped the guy that slayed the dragon, right?
That's yes, yeah, and he beat him pretty easly. Maybe easily.
Both times too. That wasn't even funny to watch what Luke did to Chris Weidman.
Yeah, Chris. Man, I love Weidman. I wish he's probably the second biggest fall off from his title of anyone. Hendricks is number 1, and then it's got to be Weidman is number 2.
But that's because he slayed the dragon. Everyone's like, no one's gonna stop this guy. All-American wrestler. He's got a chin. He knows how to throw kicks. Like, all right, this is the package, and then literally falls off a cliff.
Yeah, it was nuts, and he's still kind of stumbling.
Miles makes fights in this sport, man.
Yeah, 100% it does. And then he breaks his leg like that against your eye. He's not retired, right? He's still gonna fight again.
I didn't see an official retirement, but it's like one of those things. Is like, can he come back from that to be even half of that level?
No, but he might be able to come back and win another fight or two.
I think
he's a likable guy.
At the least, I think Dana in the UFC gives him that opportunity, gives him a fight or two to see what if anything is there.
Right. I hope so. I don't want him to go out with that broken leg.
Yeah, like don't let him go out like that, please.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was bad enough to see Anderson come back after he did, and you just could tell he wasn't the same guy anymore.
Yeah, I think Anderson.
But now I got to ask you this question. We just seen Conor McGregor break his leg, and he's spent an extended time off, and we're about to see him in a really big test against Michael Chandler. Do you see something similar? We may see a step back from what we used to see with Conor, because I already felt like we were going down that road before he broke the leg.
Yeah, I think Conor's going to smoke him, and I like Chandler. But Chandler might be the dumbest fighter in the UFC, and I love him. He's better at everything.
He does take some wrong, like when fight IQ stuff.
If there's 2 options, he will pick the wrong option every time. He's one of the most exciting fighters out there. He will be remembered forever, some of his wars. But a lot of those wars that he's remembered for.
If it's not for Michael Chandler and Eddie Alvarez, no one is talking about Bellator MMA in any way, shape, or form. No one can argue that fact with me.
100%, yeah. And I think Chandler gets hit, Conor's going to hit him. I think the fight's at 55. And Conor's not huge, but he's way bigger than Chandler. Chandler surprised me how small he was. I met him one time. Real nice guy. I love him to death.
He probably should be a featherweight. I said that years ago. Him and Eddie, when they fought at 55, both should have been featherweights.
If he could make it, I mean, he's not tall enough. I mean, he's shredded. Like, he might be too muscular to make 45, but he's not tall enough to be a 55er.
And that's where Eddie Alvarez was, and he's again on this card fighting Chad Mendes, who is just a freak, man. His neck muscles are something to behold of. I was literally talking to someone about it, and this girl was like, "I would die just for his neck, the guy's neck muscles." I'm like, "Wait, you're a female saying this, and you want neck muscles like that?"
Hey, they're bigger than Brock Lesnar's.
That's a rough statement. Like, I seen a picture the other day of Mike Tyson and Brock Lesnar when they were like 15 and 16 years old.
Yeah.
Their neck is about as big as my dog, my pit bull dog, and he's like a 110-pound pit. And it's like you can't get both of your hands around their necks. How could you have strangled Brock in a guillotine like back then? I still can't imagine someone choking Brock out with a guillotine.
I couldn't imagine him getting choked out with a rear naked choke. His traps are just up there. They're just like started his ears.
You're right, man. You're right. He's one of the rare ones. Now I talk about this a lot, right? We talk about GOAT list, pound for pound list. My thing is the Mount Rushmores.
Okay.
So we talk about combat sports Mount Rushmore. You've been in and around this sport for some years. Who's your 5, man? It doesn't matter. We're talking boxing, MMA, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever. Who's your Mount Rushmore?
So the 5 greatest of all time, or the 5 that
of your personal Mount Rushmore.
Well, then I won't go greatest of all time. I'll go who built the sport into what it is today. You've got to put Gracie in there. He just started it. There's no way around him.
Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, it's one and the same. When
He introduced Jiu-Jitsu to the world, more or less. Then you've got to put Iceman and Couture in there.
Is that 2 and 2A there?
Almost. If I need 5, I'll give him 2 and 3, but not in any particular order. I think Iceman won twice, so maybe he'll be number 2.
Yeah. They're a part of the initial bang that created what is the UFC today.
They're 2 of the most memorable people. Liddell, particularly that Mohawk. Although I saw a video of Liddell recently, dude's blown up. He's 300 pounds, I'll bet. So then, who else would I put? I would put. If I can't put Dana White, I'll keep it to just fighters. I would put Ronda Rousey in there. Because without her, there is no female MMA, and I would put Conor McGregor in there. Conor
represents that like newer what newer MMA is.
He almost personally brought MMA to the people. It is now a mainstream sport, I think, because of Conor.
Ronda started that trend by what she did by bringing women into the UFC, but Conor took that. She brought that special type of attitude that you needed from that athlete at that point in time, and he just turned it up several hundred notches. Not a notch. He just had a whole new level on the knob.
So I've been a substitute teacher for about 2-3 years now, and Conor McGregor hasn't won a fight since before I won my last. It's been like 5 years for him or 4 years for him. Every kid that knows I'm a fighter, every one of us. Could you beat Conor McGregor? Do you know Conor McGregor? Have you met Conor McGregor? 100%. That is more than anyone else. That is who they ask about. I said, no, listen, I'm way bigger than Conor. And they don't believe me. I said, no, Conor is small compared to me. So I'd smash.
That's why they call him the little Irishman, right?
Yeah, I tell all the kids I would smash.
Like, yeah, people don't realize that he started his career at featherweight, 145 pounds.
Yeah. So Connor is that guy. He mainstreamed the UFC. Ronda did a little bit, and Connor took that ball and ran with it. I mean, every big name UFC fighter now is in some way trying to copy Conor McGregor. Every one of them, Colby, Triple C, Cejudo, or
but isn't it fair to say
Aljo.
that Connor copied Chael Sonnen's formula?
A little bit, yes. He wasn't. So Chael was a wordsmith. Chael would make you feel ways. Connor was just real blunt. Connor was like running your head into the door just over and over again. Chael was picking the locks. So there was a difference between them. Nobody can do what Chael does. Not many people can do what Connor. Nobody can do what Connor does either. It was just same result, different take though.
I think what it is Chael's stuff. Like he knew exactly what he's saying and how he's saying it. Connor just does it off the top of his head.
Yeah. I like to think Chael did it off the top of his head too, but he didn't. He was
some of it. He was like,
mirror.
he was waiting. Like, I'm gonna wait for him. I know he's gonna say this at some point, and I got him with this.
Yeah,
I got him with this.
I could have sworn that tapping just means I lose that round. I didn't know the whole fight was. Of course, I wouldn't have tapped that. I was up 4 rounds to that
one after the first Anderson fight.
It was just fantastic. He is a wit that I'm envious of Chael's wit.
But he was one of those guys when he lost. Like his humor was self-deprecating. He would destroy himself after the fights.
And then
he wouldn't give anyone a chance to say anything. He would just like, yeah. And he would just go in head first and just destroy himself. But like Connor's not that one though. Like Connor's too much of that. He can't do that to himself for whatever reason.
Your wife is in my DMs. I mean, he was still on the ground. He still hadn't stood up, and he was already trying to sell that next fight,
which will happen at some point in time next year. I swear.
Connor can't be replicated. It just he is
a rare one. It's like one of those things like where you look at it now, like if you could sit there and say anyone the guys or girl on the roster now that you could think could potentially have the possibility to make a Mount Rushmore.
Wait, current fighters that might make it on there somehow. I hate giving Jones credit, but Jones maybe.
Yeah, it's one of the ones like I'm with you on this one. I so hard over him over the last handful of years just because he is without a doubt a special talent. And it's just like when you're watching a guy that special just destroy everything around him, it's like you don't want to give them the credit they deserve. That they definitely earned it in the cage.
Yeah,
like some of the stuff out. I can't forget that. I can't forget that either.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's yeah.
I mean, you're a family man, so I get exactly why you'd be like, no, F him. He's not getting on that list.
Yeah, but if he's still fighting,
he's the pound for pound best until somebody beats him. No one has really beaten him yet. Gustafsson came close. You know,
I thought Dom Reyes did beat him.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I thought Dom did too, but then came back and just he wasn't the same guy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Like I think, like we talk about styles make fights, but it also has to happen at the right time. When everyone, everything has to line up in a certain way for it to happen.
Yeah.
I still think the UFCs are in a special spot, especially what happened after the last pay-per-view before with Izzy and Alex, because you have a legit rivalry right there that not a single thing is manufactured. It's legitimate.
Yeah.
Props to Izzy for not bringing up anything that Alex Kidd did before with the prior fighter, and then how everything played out. And the fact that I'm glad they didn't do an immediate run back because we've already just seen them run it back already. But the potential that we could have that fight at 205 pounds in a year or so, the UFC could blow the record puts off the roof, because that's something you don't see in MMA happen often, where you have a legitimate rival where there's not a whole lot of, surliness between each other.
Right. No. Yeah. I don't think the fight will happen though, because I don't think Perry is ever going to win another fight in the UFC. Izzy exposed him in the first fight. He has no ground game, no grappling, no wrestling. I think everybody from here on out is going to take him down and maul him. And Izzy could have in the first fight. It just, I don't think it was his game plan. And Izzy's not a ground guy as it is.
I still think he wanted to knock him out. I think that's what it really was. I think
I
he wanted
agree.
to knock him out on his feet because of what happened in the first fight.
Yep. I think Perry knocking out Izzy 2 fights ago and Strickland just before that. I think Whitaker would shoot on him now if they were to fight. I think everybody's going to shoot on him, and I don't think he's got the ability to stop most of their takedowns, especially going up to
205. You know how many world-class wrestlers are in that weight?
Yeah, and they're all big. I mean, he's and plus going up to 205, I think is a bad idea for him. He's a big guy at 85. He's an average-sized guy at 205, and so I think he's going to go there, and people are going to. He's not going to be able to bully people like he does at 85.
Yeah, it's. I think him not winning the fight. I think that's a bold prediction there, Sammy.
It is. I think at this. I think he was so exposed by Stylebender their first fight in the UFC that anybody that loses to him deserves to lose to him because they could just take.
You're not watching the tape. You're not watching the tape.
Yeah. So just watch anything. Strickland says he was about 10 seconds away from shooting. He said, I just wanted to stand up with him, see what he was all about. He said, my plan was at like 2 minutes and 52 seconds, I was going to shoot. And he got knocked out at, 2 minutes and 48 seconds.
That's just the way it worked, right?
Yeah. But I think Izzy exposed him, and I think even the stand-up guys are going to shoot on him.
Now, we're talking all these rematches and everything, things of that nature. Are you with Amanda Nunes that we don't need the Juliana Pena fight? Or I've been seeing a lot of stuff. You see these satire sites, Amanda Nunes or Juliana Pena has a broken back carrying the Amanda Nunes for the third fight. I'm like, what is going on with this? Like, I agree that I don't think we needed to see a third fight immediately yet with them. Just because you got the immediate rematch because Amanda was already the incumbent champion multiple times over, things of that nature. I get why that, but do you feel that Amanda has something to say on to say that it shouldn't have been Juliana immediately, or do you feel that this is the rematch they got right?
Who else are they going to put against her? I mean, it's such a weak.
Yeah, that's what I've been talking about a lot of with some of the female weight divisions. Like as much as the female divisions have grown, not just in the UFC, but you go look in BKFC. Christina Ferreri doesn't have anyone to fight.
Mm-hmm.
We're just seeing them bringing Beck out after 5 years, and she hasn't really fought anyone in BKFC in that period of time. So it's like we're in a weird spot with that. Amanda has literally beaten everyone she could possibly beat. She probably should have retired before the first Pena fight.
She could have gone down as one of the greatest.
I mean, I don't think she doesn't right now, like without a doubt.
Yeah,
we talked about how Ronda's on that our list there, but what Amanda Nunes did, like she stopped Chris Cyborg. She was she was one of the first people to beat Valentina as well when Valentina was trying to do her thing when she was trying to come up. Mm-hmm. Now Valentina, unfortunately lost her title in an amazing fashion. By the way, couldn't be happier for Miss Grasso.
Yeah,
that was impressive, and I always kind of felt that. I don't know if you've seen this, but tell me if I'm wrong. Do you feel like that Valentina was getting lazy with those kicks when she's resetting, and Alexa just took advantage of knowing that she wasn't resetting as fast and just jumped on it?
Yeah, no, she was. And the thing about spinning kicks, I tell all my students, listen, spinning stuff, when it lands, everybody will remember it. It just doesn't land that much. He said spinning stuff is very low probability, and it gives your back up to someone. Shevchenko has always spun and it's worked real well. Someone who's watching tapes and watching her fights, like, she's gonna spin, I'll just come forwards, which is the solution to any spinning move. Just move forwards, and you stuff most of what it does. That she was able to jump on the back in that moment was pretty incredible.
It reminded me of like when Demetrius Johnson was drilling for that flying armbar.
Yeah, I always call it that's the rock bottom to an armbar. It's my favorite submission to date. So my good friend Ricky Ferrar, he's a 135er-ish, the strongest man in the world. Like honestly, he's 135. He's stronger than I am, and it's not bragging about him. It's just the way it is. He watched that, loved it. He does the same thing, but with a rear naked choke now. He'll get behind him and he'll like suplex him up, and then he'll let go as they fall, and then he jumps on the back with it. He's won like 2 or 3 fights with this. It's really impressive.
It's one of those things, like if something you can work on and know you can hit it, do it. But it's like one of those things where you can work on something 2,000 times in the gym room, and sometimes you may never come across it to be able to hit it in a cage.
Yep. And he just makes it work. He'll do it, and he'll do it a little bit everywhere.
Well, Sam, I know we're a little bit over the 30 minutes I said. Late on my end. It's getting late on your end. Going to wrap it up a little bit. Sam, you know how we do things. Throw the proverbial microphone over to you, brother. Anyone you'd like to thank, training partners, teammates, shoot at them social media sites. Let the people know about the upcoming fight. Anything you're working with outside of combat sports that you would like the people to know about. The time is yours, my friend.
The short list is follow my YouTube, guys. It's one of the easiest things. People always talk about they want to help fighters get paid more. UFC doesn't pay well enough, and this, that. What y'all could do, just follow fighters' Instagram, follow their YouTube particularly, but follow their social media. That is the one way you can help them get paid more. The future of Smiling Sam will be in the cage, but I'm going way deep into the social media, algorithms as best I can. So if you want to do me a huge favor, go on to Smiling Sam at YouTube. Watch a video or two. Once I'm at 4,000 hours, I get monetized, and then I've got a little side income there. And I will appreciate every view, every like, every follow, every comment you guys give me, because I wouldn't have had a career without you. And thank you all so much.
Well, as always, Sam, we appreciate your time here with me. Belly Up Sports, Combat Deviants. Definitely wish you best of skill in the upcoming fight. I definitely want you to win. Hopefully we can get you in some bigger, boxing fights, bare knuckle boxing fights, etc. Want to see that big old smile some more in the combat sports world. Hopefully we see you in it for a few more years before Father Time tells us it's time to go. Right.
I got a few more.
I want to get you involved in our hardcore hobby talk podcast as well. Definitely would like to send you a few cards to get signed and graded. We'll do some giveaways and stuff. Have some fun, man.
That sounds great. Count me in.
I always appreciate your love, your enthusiasm for our time together, Sam. Best of skill in the upcoming one. We'll be in touch, my friend, and keep doing your thing, and you're gonna get there, dude. I know it's one of these things. We all working towards this thing. I hope you get your numbers on the social media. I hope you get what you want in the cage, outside of the cage. Hopefully, I get my stuff too.
Yeah, yes, sir. You and me together to the top.
That's what I'm hearing about, Sam. Appreciate the time as always. Talk to you again in the future, my friend.
Hey, have a good one, my friend.
You too, Sam. All right, everyone. That was free agent Mr. Sam Alvey. Always a pleasure to talk to. Always a fun, full of energy, full of insight. Definitely one of the special guys in combat sports. But for now, this should put a wrap onto episode 31 here on Combat Deviants. Appreciate Dillion Winemiller's time. Appreciate Tommy Turner's time. Again, Sam Alvey, no stranger to the combat sports world. Hopefully he is victorious in his return with a short turnaround. All these guys were fun to talk to. Make sure you guys are locked in on all our social media sites, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Make sure you're giving us a follow, like, subscribe, whatever the platform is, TikTok, whatever. Make sure you're showing us some love. We'll be back next week. Got some fun stuff. We should have the Cardcore Hobby Talk show back next week. I should have at least one fighter spotlight in between the next episode. Other than that, make sure you guys are locked in. You'll find out who is who and what is what and where is where right here on Belly Up Sports Combat Deviants. I'm Steve Rochelle. We will catch you guys next week.